Hello guys, and welcome to this video. So today's going to be a part 2 for our pentatonic groupings video. So if you haven't seen the previous pentatonic groupings part 1, then make sure you watch that, as many of the concepts in there will cross over for today's video. So today we're going to be looking at skip note groupings. So what are skip note groupings? So if we start on the root of our pentatonic scale, we're going to skip the next note, which is the minor third, and go straight to the fourth, hammer that on. Then if we're going to do groups of 4, we're going to carry on. I'm going to skip the next note of the pentatonic scale, which is the 5th, and go to the flat 7th, and finally we're going to skip the next note, which is the root, and go to the minor third. Obviously you could carry on this concept and go to the 5th by skipping the 4th, and so on. But this is what we refer to when we're talking about skip note groupings. So this technique was commonly used in the modal jazz era, and it kind of creates the quartal sound, which you may have heard of before. So players like McCoy Tyner, John Coltrane, Wayne Shorter, Joe Henderson all utilized this technique, and any player who came after that would have adopted this sound as it became an essential vocabulary within jazz. So let's take a close-up look of the pattern that I based the idea at the start on. So that was our pentatonic skip note groups of 4 going up the neck. Obviously on Patreon, as well as going through groups of 2, 3 and 4, I'll also show the patterns going down too, as I did for the other groupings, and there'll be a PDF available for that. But here we're just going to look at going up. So obviously we could do this pattern going straight across the fretboard, sweeping like that. However, I prefer hammering on each second note as it creates a smoother sound. So, but that's just personal preference. If you would rather sweep these patterns like a Frank Gambale or something, then that's great. You go for that. So what kind of picking are we going to use for this? I would obviously do 1 pick per string, the legato approach, down and then up on the D string. However, there are other options. Alternate picking works really well, or a more selective picking approach where we could do 1 pick on the first string and then a down, up. So down, down, up. And that will switch around our picking to mean that you'll be on a downstroke for the next string. So all of them are all good. It's about what works best for you. So you just experiment and find which option works best for you. Another thing is that the thumb must come around the neck. If you're going to play like a blueser, like a Jimi Hendrix, I love that, but it's not going to allow you the stretch to be able to hammer on that 4th. Obviously, the further the thumb goes around the fretboard, the further you're going to be able to reach. So you need to find the balance where you've got enough control and enough stretch. So another thing is that I would never play in the course of a solo this pattern up and down the fretboard. Otherwise your guitar playing will end up sounding a little bit like Captain Obvious, and we don't want to make our lines sound so predictable. So I would always take little fragments of these ideas and use them in context. So as an example of that, if you check out the previous video on pentatonic harmonic colors, where we look at how to apply our pentatonic scales, then I use skip note groupings. I do a group of 4 from the root, but then I'll skip to the 5th, and then to the minor third, and then I think the flat 7th, if I remember correctly. So it's just kind of breaking up these ideas. Otherwise, as I say, it'll sound a little bit predictable. So that's all there is to really say about our skip note pentatonic groupings. As I said before, I'll be going through groups of 2, 3, and 4 on Patreon. I'll do a separate video on each of those, and there'll be obviously a PDF that you'll be able to download with all the different fingerings and picking patterns on. But I do go up to groups of 6s in my book, Modern Pentatonics. However, I kind of feel that groups of 4 is enough to explain the concept, as you can always add one extra note on the end of the grouping, and then by combining groups of 3 and 4 together, you'll be able to play however many number of groupings you would like. So that's all for today's video, guys. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. That would be greatly appreciated. The links will all be in the description if you'd like to check out my book or my Patreon. And I very much look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks, guys. Take care.